What's going on, Law Nation? Welcome to the Passive Income Attorney Podcast, the best place for learning about the world of alternative passive investments so that you can practice when you want to, not because you have to. And if you're ready to kick that billable hour to the curb, start by going to attorneybydesign.com and download the Freedom Blueprint, which will also get you access to opportunities to partner with us on one of our next passive real estate investments. We'd love to get you on board and help you on your way to financial freedom. All right, let's talk about productivity and how to get the most out of each and every day. And it all starts with a strong morning routine. Hopefully you've read the book Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, where he talks about SAVERS. SAVERS stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing or writing. You may or may not do all or any of those things, but you need to work on doing some of them. Figure out what works for you. For me, ideally, I'm not going to say and preach to you that I do this every single day, but I work towards it and I try to. So I get up without looking at my phone. And I think that's a key. Many of us just roll over and we grab our phone and look at our emails and see what text messages we've missed. And we start our day off with panic and problems and things that we have to accomplish. But that's not the way to start. We need to start off slow, relaxed, and get our mind focused so that we can be our most productive self throughout the day. So get up. Do not look at your phone. I brush my teeth, all of that stuff. Every day I take a multivitamin. I prepare a French press coffee. I drop some collagen peptides in it and I chug a green drink. And then after that, I meditate for roughly 10 minutes. I run through some quick affirmations and visualizations after that. And then I do 50 unbroken push-ups to get the blood flowing, to get the brain moving. And after that, I listen to a podcast or perhaps a book on Audible as I walk my dogs around the block. And then, only then do I start my quote unquote work day. For you folks out there that haven't done this before, it might seem counterintuitive. And that is taking more time out of your day in order to get more out of your day when you're already short on time. But if you have to get up earlier to do this, then do it. Just do it. Then when you start your day, the next step is eat the frog, get uncomfortable. Just do it. Get the hardest, most important things you have to do out of the way first. Ask yourself, what are the 3 to 5 things that you need to do that at the end of the day, if you only accomplish those things, you would say, I had a successful day. Knock those things out immediately. So what does your morning routine look like? I'd like to hear about it. I like to always stay fluid and change and improve on mine. So drop me an email or a message on social media and let me know what works for you. All right. Today's guest is none other than Mr. Kansas City himself, my good friend and business partner, Logan Freeman. He's a former NFL lineman and is now the co-founder of FTW Investments. And he's facilitated over $150 million in real estate transactions. And I'll tell you, by the time this airs, that number is already going to be dated. Logan is a true go-getter and a go-giver. My man is a leader of men and women through and through. He's an inspiration. He's a guide. He's a great family man and is truly just a really good human being. Understanding how to do well by doing good is Logan's motto and has made it his why for doing business. All right. If you haven't heard Logan speak before, or even if you have, you're in for a treat. I'm really stoked about this. Finally got Logan on the show. Let's jump in.
This is the Passive Income Attorney Podcast, where you'll discover the secrets and strategies of the ultra wealthy on how they build streams of passive income to give them the freedom we all want. Attorney Seth Bradley will help you end the cycle of trading your time for money so you can make money while you sleep. Start living the good life on your own terms. Now, here's your host, Seth Bradley.
Logan, what's going on, brother? Great to finally have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today, man. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and being able to build our relationship over the years has been great, and on an ongoing basis. So excited to be here and share the story and hopefully add some value today, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we talk pretty frequently, so it's awesome to finally have you on the podcast. Been trying to get you on here, man, but you're a busy guy.
Well, I've got some new resources around me that helps get things scheduled and get it taken care of. And so had a big backlog and starting to push through them. And you were at the top of the list, brother.
All right, man. Sounds good. Well, let's just jump right in, man. Take it back as far as you want. Tell us a little bit about your story, your background.
Awesome. Yeah. So started, back in Jefferson City, Missouri, and probably a lot of the listeners don't know that's the capital of our great state of Missouri here. And grew up as a, small town boy, and really wanted to start working when I was about 13 years old. I'm a big guy, and I saw my mom kind of working two jobs, and hustling for our family to put us in school and all that stuff. And so when I was 14, man, I got my first job throwing hay on the back of a trailer in Jefferson City, Missouri, on the farm. And when I was 15, I stepped up and got a job at a catering business doing dishes and sweeping the floors. And this financial freedom thing has always really been in my mind, because I think early on in my life, my mom was always like, where's the next dollar going to come from? We didn't talk about investing until I got to high school and took Dave Ramsey's personal finance class in high school. And he's like, hey, got to get your Roth IRA, got to get your expenses and income taken care of. So I got a really low level kind of feel for finances. And when I was 15, I started my first Roth IRA, believe it or not, man. And my mom had to go co-sign on the whole thing. And I was always been interested in this investing world, but I identified as an athlete growing up, and went to school at University of Central Missouri, pretty close here to Kansas City, and played collegiate football, and then had the opportunity to go to the NFL after that, very briefly. And I was cut from the NFL, and my whole life changed. Everybody has these points in their lives where things happen to them and they have to make a decision. Well, this was the first one. And I decided to not play football anymore. So I went back to school, finished my master's degree, lost 100 pounds. I was an offensive lineman. So lost 100 pounds I'll tell you this, but as you know, I've gained a little bit of weight, and now it's coming back down. I almost got back up to playing weight, and I had to make sure that didn't happen. But the real change happened in my mind, man. I mean, this is when I got a job driving an hour to make 265 cold calls a day. And, I listened to Lewis Howes and John Lee Dumas and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, all the grandfathers, so to speak, and some newcomers. And it really changed my mind. And I started to read books, and big shift in my mindset. And so I graduated school, no longer an athlete. And then, this story, but my father came up. He's a, Native American guy, 6'3", 250 pounds, dunk a basketball, hit a golf ball 300 yards. And he couldn't make it up the stairs, to help me move my stuff out of the apartment complex I was living in. And I knew something wasn't right. Well, my dad had battled drugs and alcohol his whole life. And in a matter of 3 weeks, my dad died. And I lost him to that battle with drugs and alcohol. And that was another big changing point in my life. And thankfully, I had mentors that pulled me up and said, look, you got a decision to make right now. You can go down that same route, or you can pick something different. And that was crucial for me. And so I moved to Kansas City, where I live now. And I worked a couple jobs. I quickly found out that I was unemployable. And 5 years ago now, I was fired from my last six-figure sales job. And I said, no more. When your shoulds become your musts is really whenever you start to make change in your life. That's Tony Robbins. And so I decided to go into business for myself. I got into real estate. I started a sales consulting company, and I started to learn this game from the ground up. And I took a head of acquisitions position with a $50 million fund here in Kansas City. Got a lot of transactions under my belt, took that knowledge and experience and went to the commercial and multifamily world, started doing a lot of 1031 exchange brokerage for out-of-state clients, started to buy some properties myself, and quickly found out I needed a team. I need people around me to help elevate my capacity and do things that I am not good at. And so I found a couple of partners who now, Parker and Corey. And now we have around 1,400 units across 4 states and some other holdings here in the Midwest. But just really growing that private equity real estate business and helping investors along their journey of financial freedom. That's where I'm at today, Seth. So that's a long-winded story, but you got a lot of things there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it, man. Even though I've heard that story a number of times, I love hearing it every single time, man. It's such a great story. I love that
Yeah.
you come from a blue collar background similar to me. My mom's a retired school teacher. Her
Yep.
dad's a retired coal miner. I love that, man. What do you think, coming from that blue collar background, how did that set you up for success?
Man, it's just work ethic,
Yeah.
it's just like excuses were non-existent. Like you could bring them to my mom and she would say, that's fine, but you need to do something about it. Like bring me a solution and
Yeah.
I'm going to work my way out of this thing. And so that's why I was, able to achieve what I was able to in athletics. I'm not the most gifted athletically, but I worked my tail off. Same thing in our business now is I didn't take economics in school. I didn't take all these classes about all of the different things that we do, but I can grab a book, I can talk to people, I can work every single day to do that. So I think it's just this work mentality that really kind of is ingrained in me. And then if you don't know something, you can go learn it. And so that was probably the biggest thing that I learned from the blue collar kind of mindset was this work mentality. But also we have to be careful on the flip side of that, right? Because my mom and everybody I knew just worked for dollars, until I met a couple guys and they're like, no, you're thinking about this thing completely wrong. You got to be a producer, not a consumer. And that was when the light bulb went off and said, okay, I can work, but I can work smarter, not harder. And that was the game-changing moment for me, brother.
Yeah, no, totally agreed. It's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, you get
Yep.
that work ethic from coming from the blue collar family, seeing your parents work for their dollars and how hard they work and the time that they put in to
Yep.
take care of their family. But at the same time, you're kind of stuck in that bubble until you get to that, until you meet someone, read the books, or
Yep.
find a mentor or coach or whoever it is that kind of tells you, hey, wait, there's a different way to do this. There's an entrepreneurial way to do this,
Absolutely.
where you're not trading your time for dollars.
100%, man. And I was exposed to that through Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but then saw it in real life. And I'd see these business owners that were working on the side or the weekend, had a staff, and I'm like, what are they doing? They're like, well, they're tending to our rental properties. I'm like, rental properties? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, man, like this is just one area of my life here is this franchise here that I own. I also have, 100 apartment units. I'm like, wait, what? And so then I was starting to see it in actuality and was like, wow, you can do this. And it's a realistic expectation if you start to take those steps. So not only had it, theoretically in the books, but I got to see it practically applied out in the real world. And that was huge. Making that link, that link to those two things for me was a big piece of what I'm doing now.
Yeah, definitely. You've kind of got to see an example. I mean, I remember growing up, and the only people in town that owned businesses or real estate were kind of the local politicians. There's a family,
Yep.
the Mansion family, who everyone's probably pretty familiar with from West Virginia. I grew up with them. My dad grew up with them. They owned a few rental, nothing like 100-unit apartment buildings, but they owned
Sure.
like a few rental properties. They own a carpet store, they own a grocery store, things like
Yep.
that. And I remember just thinking, wow, like they must be so wealthy. They own all
Mhm.
these properties and all these things. And it took a long time to get over that mindset that you and I
Yeah.
could do it too.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Exactly. I'm glad. I mean, that's the most important thing is putting yourself around people that are thinking differently. Because what I'll tell you, the last thing, we can move on from this, but Jefferson City is a great place. Don't get me wrong. I know the place that you grew up is a great place, but there's a little bit of stinking thinking that sticks to those folks, and it's like, hey, this is the way it's done. This is the way it's going to continue to go. But that's not reality. You move to a Kansas City or a Los Angeles or Chicago or something, you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of other things happening out here. And so just getting that perspective shift is huge in making sure that you can believe that what you're reading is actually true, man. That link is crucial for people.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about FTW, what you guys
Sure.
do, where you guys invest. We partner on some deals, so I'd really like you to
Yep.
share with the audience, what your business strategies are and what you guys do.
Yeah, man. I mean, you'll hear value add in this space a ton, right? But we are true value investors, and I'll give you a couple of examples of this. But we are Munger and Bucket kind of value investors that say, look, we got to understand what the intrinsic value is, and then price what we're purchasing off of that, not what the potential output might be. And so, unfortunately, that prices us out a lot of deals. But what we focus on is margin of safety at the going in rate. You hear this: you make your money when you buy, not yourself. Not yourself, to an extent, right? I mean, but you have to be able to understand what the intrinsic value are of these assets that you're going after, and making sure that you got some kind of cash flow on these properties. So we are true Midwest kind of owner and operators that like attainable housing. So class B and C stuff that is not highly amenitized. You think about affordability, right? And 30% of somebody's gross income is kind of the metric that you hear a lot. We're somewhere between 19 and 23% on our deals. And so, I mean, that is just crucial whenever you're thinking about, okay, well, yeah, people's incomes are rising now. Some are, but a lot of folks are not, and they're not going to rise to the rate of, hey, I can go pay $2,000 a month in rent. It's more like, hey, I got $750 to $900 for rent. And we like to serve that market. Two reasons. One, people, whenever your incomes do come down, typically, you're going to move from a class A to a class B, or a class B to a class C, something that's a little less amenitized, a little more affordable. But two, you really actually have some sort of operational efficiency or cosmetic upgrade to make on these projects. I mean, this is red brick buildings. These are, old school classic units for mica, cabinets that are falling off, all this stuff, right? Like, you can really make that look good. Now, 2019 build that you're going in and upgrading from this granite to that granite, and so I think that's one piece of the puzzle. The second thing is, we're not just multifamily guys and gals. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff outside of the multifamily world. One of the things that I was talking a lot about at the conference was looking at suburban office and neighborhood retail shopping centers, and making sure that we're always looking at these different types of opportunities to find the right yield that's priced into the market. And so that is driven by consumers, but it's also driven by trends in the locale that you're investing in. And so, knowing Kansas City like we do, I can go buy an 82,000 square foot office building and feel very comfortable that it's going to stay above 90%, because I know who the tenants are. I know how many showings are going on in the leasing activity, and I know the affordability that people are looking for in regards to the office world. Same thing on the retail side. Some people say, look, we got the Amazon effect. Sure. Yes, we do. But if you have a shopping center that is in the middle of a bunch of houses, guess where people are going to go get their oil change, their tires, that they need to buy, the dollar store, the grocery store, the Chinese restaurant, getting your hair cut, getting your nails done. Those types of strip centers are not going away if they're strategically located. And so I think you'll see us do more of these assets outside of the multifamily space. Cautiously optimistic about multifamily. Don't get me wrong. Love it. Own a lot of it. But I love it at a certain price per door. For example, this deal that we did, a 426 unit portfolio here in Kansas City. Our basis is $50K a door. I was modeling $70 rent increases over 5 years and putting $9,000 to $10,000 in those units. We put $2,500 in those units and got $150 on the rent increases. And now those things are trading at $90,000 a door. My basis is 50. And so if I can find those opportunities, you bet I'm going to go forward for those opportunities, but those are few and far between. So we have to look at, what are the other trends that are happening, similar to back in 19 and 20, when I was purchasing a lot of multifamily. People are like, hey, I'm on the sidelines until this COVID thing goes away. I said, great, you stay on the sidelines. We're going in full force. And now look at what we're doing. We're doubling our basis in a lot of these opportunities. And so I think that can happen in the retail and office world strategically. And we will continue to do that. So that's kind of what our focus is, and owning and operating all of those projects. So building the team up, I think we're up to about 14 or 15 people here now in the office, and just getting better as operators and making sure we juice every type of return that we can, and making sure we're getting better across every single vertical in our business is what we're focused on right now.
Yeah, love that. And being plugged into the Kansas City and Midwest markets, and you know them like the back of your hand, that I think that allows you to diversify across different asset classes, right?
That's right.
Into this retail, into office. Whereas, compared to a different team who might be, I don't know, sitting where I'm sitting in San Diego or something, and they're
Yep.
investing in Kansas City and into retail, even though they were in multifamily before. I mean, that's, that sounds like a risky proposition for them, but for you, because you know the market, you're able to see those opportunities locally.
Yeah, it's so important, man. I can't explain enough. Like we're getting projects brought to us from Texas and the Carolinas and Tennessee. And I'm like, look, I need to know your market like I know Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Do you know that like I do? And if you have that knowledge and you have the relationships, that's the other piece. When we break down intellectual capital, it's human. So how good are you? How good's your team? Relational, who do you know? And then intellectual capital is obviously the top of that. But the last one is structural. I need to know that you've got systems and processes instead of you just sit in front of a computer and everything lives and dies with you. And so that's hard to find. And so if I have found that in a market that we're not boots on the ground in, I feel comfortable maybe evaluating an opportunity, but that just takes time.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit why invest in the Midwest? Why not, we hear about the sexy markets like Austin and Charlotte and Nashville, places like that. You guys choose to make your footprint here in the Midwest, Kansas City, Iowa, Nebraska, places like that. Why invest in the Midwest?
I think there's two reasons. One, I live here. And so obviously that intellectual capital is very important. But two is just affordability and not going up with the big swings and down with the big swings as well. So staying kind of steady Eddie. And what I mean by that is my college football coach would always say, Logan, you're an offensive lineman. You cannot get in the peaks and valleys. You've got to stay just, kind of not stagnant, but you got to stay stable all of the time. You got to stay stabilized. You're the left tackle. You're protecting the backside of the quarterback. And so I think a big piece of this is saying, look, during the COVID-19, pandemic, we have great data to show kind of the ability for the people living here to continue to pay rents, continue to work, and continue to thrive. And so I think that's one piece is just kind of the market swings. We're less impacted by some of that. The second is just the affordability factor, man. I think that a lot of people are now seeing, hey, I can remotely work. I'm not going to live in a really, expensive market. I'm going to maybe move to the Midwest, put more in my pocket. And that's really interesting. The last is the industries that drive kind of the Midwest, just blue collar stuff that's not going anywhere. We've got agriculture, we got transportation, we've got all these different things that are just kind of the backbones of the economy. And that's really important as well. That helps us kind of stay insulated from some of these swings. So all of those reasons, population growth, job growth, and wage growth is not going to be as high here. And so you're not going to have a lot of the natural appreciation that you might have in some of those other markets, but you do have forced appreciation opportunities and you have cash flow. And for me, that's really important for our firm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it right. Stability. A lot of those cities in the Midwest, they're positioned geographically such that they're within the supply chain, traveling between the trucks and between other major cities across the coast and cities like Kansas City and Des Moines and places like that. They're not going to go away. They're not kind of like, I'll compare it to a market I'm very familiar with, Cleveland, where, you don't necessarily have to go through Cleveland to get anywhere. Cleveland is the destination, and you're seeing these massive population drops. You don't see that in Kansas City.
Absolutely. The other thing is the railroad here, man. We've got more miles of rail here. We're one of the biggest hubs in regards to the rail. Everything's passing through here. We got the Missouri River, stuff's coming off there, getting on the rail, getting on the trucks and heading out. And so that creates jobs, stable jobs that people are looking for. And that's important. So I completely agree.
Yeah. And even though you guys are conservative and, you're not just buying every single thing that comes out to market, how have you been able to scale so quickly though?
Yeah. I think about this in leverage, and I break leverage down into three ways. You've got leverage with people, you've got leverage with capital, and you have leverage with structural or technology, right? And so when I think about that, the human and the intellectual capital that we surround ourselves with at any given point, I think is top notch. I think that's important. We have three principles here. Everybody brings a different perspective, different experience, different knowledge. That's really crucial. But then also building that team up, right? And so making sure you can eliminate, delegate, and automate in the business is really important, and in the right way, right? I mean, you've got different types of delegation that I could talk about too. But at the end of the day, the leverage piece is important. The branding piece is important. And so making sure that our brand continues to stay consistent and has a good feel to it brings opportunity. So it's more like the law of attraction, right? You start to do all of these things, you start to talk about things, but then you execute and things start coming your way. And I think that's an important piece as well. Obviously, scaling during COVID-19 gave us a great opportunity while other people were on the sidelines. And so we were able to get a big foothold here in Kansas City, which was important, which gave us the capacity to kind of spiderweb out into these other markets. But most of the deals that come to us are through some sort of relationship, right? I mean, my hit rate on marketed deals is very low, and I understand that. Just like Reed Goosens was saying, I still underwrite everything that's out there just to kind of see what the pulse is, what people are doing, what the terms are, all of these things. That's important. But if I look back for our last 10 or 12 transactions and acquisitions, it's all relationship, man. And so I'm out there hunting down people that own deals that I can add value to. And as they're transitioning out of their business, I'm one of the first calls that they make. And so if you think about the groups that own real estate in the Kansas City area, I know just about every single one of them. And every month I've got a meeting with one of these guys or gals and trying to figure out a way to stay in front of them. And that's really important too, attracting that in. So it was a little bit of timing. It was a little bit of, the brand that we already had. And then it was just execution. That was the biggest piece, was let's execute on what we're going to do. And I know it felt very fast in regards to the growth that we did hit, but at the same time, we brought, 20 years collective of experience kind of in relationships that were kind of bundled up into one. And so I think that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, definitely. And you're huge on relationships, right? And I think that we start to lose touch of that, especially when everybody's on Zoom and on LinkedIn and social media and all that stuff. And we start to forget about the importance of actually making human contact with each other, especially, us getting together over the past weekend at the conference. I mean, it just makes a huge difference in building relationships and having that face-to-face time.
Yeah, just empathy, man. I mean, just you and I are going through a situation on something, and I'm trying to do everything I can to help the situation, and just going the extra mile with trying to treat people right. And radical transparency is something Ray Dalio talks a lot about, and I've gotten so much better at this. And it's always a fun thing to kind of think through, is like, you never want to deliver bad news, but at the same time, if you hide that bad news, it grows and it gets way, way worse. And so this is a little bit of marriage advice out there as well, is don't let those things grow, get it out there and talk about it. Even if it's not going to be a fun conversation, being able to work through crucial conversations is something that has been able to create kind of deeper relationships and trust. And I think that's a part that people need to focus on right now.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, transparency, feedback. We have a thing called the feedback loop at our gyms, where we make sure that our trainers, every time they get off the floor, they say, hey, can I get some feedback? What do you think? Rather than just trying to hide it, rather than, the people that maybe were on the floor, maybe we're there, the owners are there, and we're like, oh, they should have done this or that. And we just keep it to ourselves. And then we bundle it up, and then it becomes an issue. If you're just radically transparent about everything, it just makes a relationship that much stronger.
Yeah. And it's never, the other side of radical transparency is never as worse as you think it is, and it's mostly your own insecurities or assumptions that are holding you back from doing that. And when you can come full circle with those and actually, deal with it, that's when it becomes a real power and a real tool to use. So I think that's crucial. I love that, getting real-time feedback after I just delivered this class, give me some real-time feedback. What can I do better next time? I think that's great. I think we've gotten soft as Americans, and we have to be careful with that, because I talked to my grandparents, my mom. They are not soft, man. They are going to give it to you straight, and right now everybody's kind of like, hey, I don't want to upset you, but and it's like, no, I'm trying to get better. You give me some feedback, I'll take it. I think that's a little bit of the athletic mindset too, though. We got coached, all the time. And you have to be able to take that coaching, especially if you want to become better. And I think we got to get a little bit harder as just a country in regards to that. So I think that's important. And most successful people really are, it's just, hey, I'm not trying to attack you as a person. It's just, hey, we want to be better and we want to be the best. And here's how we get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's an art to delivering that feedback in a meaningful and constructive way as well. But you have to be able to take it. You have to be able to take feedback and use that information to get better every single day.
That's right, man. 100%.
Yeah. And you're huge with productivity and, starting your day off the right way. I just wanted you to make a few comments on things like that. How do you stay your most productive self each and every day? Sometimes, the motivation kind of comes and goes, but how do you stay consistent, stay productive, and start your day the right way?
That's right. That's a great question. And I'm a big believer of starting your morning off with the miracle morning or some sort of iteration from that. And as I became a business owner that was leading people, I realized, and have two small children under the age of 3, you realize that after 8 o'clock, your day's not yours. And so you have to be able to own your morning. And so I'm a big guy that gets up at, 4 o'clock in the morning and gets started. And I got kind of a couple objectives when I'm trying to get started. One, I don't want to get the anxiety of the day started. I want to start with for me, it's prayer, right? It's prayer. It's getting my body in the right way with water, with my greens and all of that. So it's focused on some health too, but breathing, I think that's another thing that I've had to become a lot more well-versed in is you got to breathe throughout the day, and you need to do some breathing in the morning. And that's really important as well. So I have my kind of hour and a half in the morning that I go through my prayer, my reading, my journaling for the day. I utilize Andy Frisella's power list, and that's how I delegate and manage my team members as well. And so it's just the 5 things that if you accomplish today, you can get it done by 10 a.m. But if you get these 5 things done, you got to win for the day. And so I write down my power list. I go through that and share that with my team for accountability as well. And then I get my workout in, man. I can't speak enough about getting your body moved. I picked up a Concept 2 rower the other day. And I used to make the excuse, I only got 15 minutes. What can I do in 15 minutes? Well, go sit your tail on a Concept 2 and pull that thing for 15 minutes and watch that heart rate get up to 160. And now you got that in. So, I think that's all of it, right? It's mindset, health, and prioritizing for the day. A couple things that help me with this. And I'm big on compression. So doing more in less time is 3 laws of nature, kind of what I'll say. And it's the Parkinson's law, the Hawthorne effect, and the law of the vital few. Parkinson's law, hey, I got a task to do. I'm going to allot 45 minutes for it. Guess what? It's going to take you 45 minutes. And maybe you won't even get started on it. I just get started. If I want to work out, I just put my shoes on, right? Atomic Habits, just things like that. I just make it easy for myself, right? And I say, look, this is only going to take 3 minutes. And so I get started. It might take 15, but I've got it done. So making sure you shorten the time frame that you think things are going to allot, that you have to allot to them. Hawthorne effect, where focus and energy goes, things grow. So what are you focused on? What are you thinking about? What are you reading? Who are you talking to? And so that's another piece of the accountability is I've got 3 or 4 people at any given time kind of tapping into me and like, hey, what are you doing today? You said you were going to do this yesterday. Did you get it done? And so I have accountability on that. So that's the Hawthorne effect. And then the law of the vital few. This is probably the most important thing for me, or the Pareto's principle, 20% of your activities will lead to 80%. You can actually get fractal with that and even go at a lower level, right? So like 4% is going to take 96% of what you're actually doing. And so that's where the power list comes in. It says, okay, I got 1,000 things to do today. That's fine. But what are the top 5 that are going to move the things that I'm trying to do into the next level? And if it's already habits that you already do, like workout is never on my power list because that is something that's already ingrained in my body. Drinking 16 pounds of water is already in my power list or on my habits. So it's not on my my power list. And so one thing that I try to do too is get uncomfortable. Life begins outside your comfort zone. And so if there's something that's like, hey, I don't want to do this, you get it done first. It's called eat the frog, what Brian Tracy would say. Eat that frog every single morning, get it done, and watch everything else spiral upward. But if you have that one thing that you know you need to do and you're putting it off, and it comes at 3:00 in the afternoon, you're not doing that thing. And all you did was talk about it and think about it all day long. And so those are some quick tips that I'll say that have really helped me in regards to productivity and accountability and getting my day started off right there.
Yeah, that's all gold, man. And you're right. Everybody, instead of jumping into the hardest thing they have to do today, or the most important thing they have to do today, they put it off. They do the easy things in the morning. They have lunch, they get tired, and then they're like, okay, we'll do it, just do it tomorrow. And it never gets done.
Right.
You've got to do the hardest, most important things first while your body's ready to start the day and attack the day. And even before that, have your morning routine. To some people who haven't done it before, it seems a little counterintuitive because they're like, okay, now I've got to carve out another hour out of my day that doesn't go towards whatever that thing is, going to work or what have you. But it actually makes you more productive while you are working. If you set yourself up for success by getting that workout in, meditating, praying, whatever it might be that works for you, it makes you a more productive self throughout the day.
Yeah, man. I mean, Richard Koch wrote the book, 80-20 principles, and all of this. He said there's 4 ways to change your life. Do more of something, do less of something, start something, and stop something. And so everything that you're thinking about doing in your life, run it through that quick mental model and say, what results is this getting me? And that's a really easy way to say, hey, this isn't productive for me. I don't need to do this. And so, that's been helpful. The focus funnel from Rory Vaden. What can I eliminate? What can I automate? And what can I delegate? And that's important. And then in the delegation phase of that, there's 3 levels of delegation. You've got directive, which says, hey, you go do this at this time, right? You tell somebody exactly what to do. You have objective saying, hey, I just need you to get this done. You do it however you want. And then you have leadership said, hey, I've got too much on my plate. These are our objectives, and you need to go take care of whatever you think is going to do that. And so I'm thinking about, as I'm delegating, what level is each team member on, and what do they need from me? Do they need leadership, directive, objective? What a lot of people get in trouble with is they might try to lead somebody who actually needs directive delegation, and then nothing happens. And then there's a space there where it's like, hey, what the heck, man? Like, what do we do on this? And it's like, well, I didn't know what to do. And so you have to know where your team members are at on that before you can just delegate. You have to understand there's 3 levels of that, and each person is on a different kind of continuum in regards to where they're at with that. And so my goal is to get to leadership with all of my people, right? And that's what I'm trying to grow as is somebody that can lead people in the right way without having to be so directive at all times. So that creates leverage as well.
Yeah, that's huge. But it's easier said than done, right? I mean, you've got to kind of coach your employees, coach your teammates up to where they can get to that leadership point.
Yep.
All right, man. I'm going to put you on the spot before we jump into the Freedom 4. Not that you didn't just drop 40 gold nuggets for us just now, but what's one last gold nugget before we move on?
I always like to listen to Ed Milet. He's a big guy that I like to kind of dive into, and everything that you do, right, is based on who you are either trying to become or not trying to become. And you've got pain and pleasure on both of these spectrums, right? Most people just want to try to avoid pain, honestly. And that's the easiest thing for them. But I have a big goal of my life to say, what can I do to create positive and abundant energy at all times? And the mental model and the question that I have is, hell on earth would be meeting the man that I could have been. And so a lot of people, say, Logan, what scares you? What are you fearful of? And it's mediocrity. And it's not living up to my potential. As you know, big guy in my faith. And it's very important to me to live out what I do on a regular basis and as the best version of myself. And so everything that I'm trying to understand in life is, how do I create this energy that is not negative? And if there's something there that doesn't feel right, having the tools in my toolbox to attack that and move it out right now. So that's a big thing that I have to tell all, people that are high performers is like, if you can get to a point where you feel something that's off and you say, okay, I'm going to attack this with my physiology, with my language, with what I'm focused on. With one of these tools that we've talked about today, you can live as the best version of yourself, man. And that's the most important thing. And that's what I try to do and kind of lead people to is like, you're bringing negativity right now. And I don't say it just like that, right? But it's like, I understand you're very fearful. There's a lot of anxiety right now. Understand all of that. But what can we do with the triad, physiology, focus, and language that will allow us to get out of this mindset of fear and into some sort of abundant, thoughtful place. And that's been important in my marriage and in my business because, again, all of the assumptions that we have are typically untrue. And so, you start making assumptions about a deal or somebody or something. And it's like, is that true? Or is that just kind of like this little devil on my shoulder saying, tapping me like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Hey, you need to check your back, and all these things. And so I think that's the most important thing I want to leave people with is it all begins inside, and you must put your lifestyle first to get your business chasing you. And that is, almost 10 years worth of reading and work that I've done just to kind of bring that to culmination. And it takes a lot of work to get to that point, right? Wayne Dyer talked about this kind of level of self-actualization. No matter what happens on the outside, I'm not letting this inside kind of get impacted by it. And that is so crucial just for mental health, for enjoyment, for love, and all the things that you want to attract into your life, man.
That's perfect, brother. Appreciate you sharing that. All right, let's jump into the Freedom 4.
It's time for the Freedom 4.
What's the best thing you do to keep your mind and body healthy?
Well, I think it is the morning routine. I put a post up a couple of years ago about my morning routine and, how I create time, right? And like really understanding how much sleep you need, for yourself, or you just being lazy and not getting up, and creating days out of all those hours that have, kind of, compounded together is the best way to do that. And some people are like, hey, I work out in the afternoon. I know for me, I can't do that. I got a business, I got kids, I'm tired at the end of the day. So I got to get that in the morning. Same thing with my reading, my prayer, my breathing, and all of that. So just setting yourself up to start with an energy of positivity in the morning will help elevate all the rest of the day. So that's my best tip. And if you say you're not a morning person, go to sleep, earlier. That's all I can say to that.
Yeah, you'll become a morning person. With all your success, what is one limiting belief that you crushed along the way, and how did you get past it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, you think about getting started in any new industry or space, and you're like, man, I'm never going to be able to do a deal that's, $50 million or whatever it is, right? It's like, how could I ever do that? And then you meet somebody who's doing $50 million deals a week, and you're like, oh, wow. Or North Point here locally is like the largest industrial developer in the country. They're delivering a new building a day, one a day. Tell me that wasn't like, that wasn't their, they probably, when they got started, didn't say, hey, we're going to deliver a new product, new building. These are huge buildings a day, one a day. And so it's just like, thinking about that is making sure you're focused on your trajectory and not your positioning. And so, and let me break that down. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, but you see this big goal that you're trying to accomplish. You see where you're at right now. You're like, I can never do that. But if you put a system in place that we talked about today, and you think about your trajectory, and then you're just patient. You got to be patient with results and impatient with your actions. And I would say that is a really important piece to the whole puzzle here of just sustainability on the long haul.
Perfect. What's one actionable step our listeners can do right now to start creating more freedom?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts for me, a lot of people want to talk about financial freedom and a lot of different ways you can get there. But for me, it actually starts with your health. So make sure that your health is not a limiting factor for you. And I don't mean just being a bodybuilder or looking like Seth, but I definitely don't look like that. But I'll tell you, my energy levels rival most people's, and on a sustainable metric from 4 a.m. until about 7 p.m. And I think that is really important as well. It's just making sure that you have this energy that you can sustain a lot of different aspects of your life and have abundant energy, because that is crucial. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, business ownership, and how you do that is different for each person. But for me, that was the biggest thing for me, is making sure I felt really good. And then everything started to fall in line because I felt good. I was more motivated. I was able to take more action.
Awesome. Yep. Makes tons of sense. Last but not least, how has passive income made your life better?
Man, I tell you what, this is a complete shift, because like we spoke about just working for dollars, I was like, wait, there are things that you can purchase that will then make you more dollars, and you can leverage in the right way and be hedged against inflation. No freaking way. Like we're selling some projects right now, and I'm watching, the stock market just like everybody else is. I posted about it on LinkedIn this morning, and the psychology of the stock market. And Corey just sent us an evaluation of one of the deals that we're selling. And I sent a quick message back and was like, what's the IRR on that? It's like 160%, man. I no joke. And so if you take, what I'll call risk adjusted decisions, and you have a team to do things that other people won't do, then you can be rewarded outsized than what you're going to get access to. And that is the biggest, I think, brain kind of blowing moment for me was, there are ways to make money outside of the stock market, outside of other things. Don't get me wrong, I got plenty of holdings in those things, but I can't control them. And so if you put a team around you that you can control these types of investments, that type of control and different type of return that's uncorrelated is what Ray Dalio talks a lot about with the all-weather portfolio, right? And creating alpha in type of these types of investments has been a game-changing thing for me. And when you do it right, it can really be a really successful venture. And so that's how it's changed my life in regards to that, is just completely thinking differently about how to make your dollars go farther, how to make them work for you, and not work for those dollars through leverage in the right ways.
Yeah. It's crazy when you start investing in, let's say, a real estate syndication, your first one. I don't say that's the end all be all. I'm not the person that gets up here and says, oh, you have to invest in all these real estate syndications, and that's the only way to make money. You're never going to get wealthy if you don't. But what it does do, I do encourage people to invest in it if they haven't, because it opens your mind up to alternative investments in general. It opens your mind up to what else is out there. Then you start looking around, and there's all these different opportunities for you to get involved in. And it's just a way for you to get started.
Absolutely, man. 100% agree.
All right, Logan, man, it's been great catching up with you as always, man. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
Yeah, very active on LinkedIn. Search Logan Freeman, Mr. Kansas City. My big head will pop up. But also, if you want to head over to our website, FTW Investments LLC.com. Lots of great content there for you as well. Seth, thank you so much.
Thanks, Logan. All right, Mr. Kansas City, my good friend, Logan Freeman, ladies and gentlemen. What a guy. Man, I just love being around him, spending time with him. What a great leader and an inspiration. I'm sure you guys can see and feel and hear that from this episode. And he would be the last to tell you, but he's also super intelligent, both from a book smart perspective and especially from a social perspective. He's next level with connecting with people. My firm, Law Capital Partners, if you've heard of it, we partner with Logan and FTW Investments on many of their deals. So if you liked what you heard and would like to get involved, join our Esquire Passive Investor Club to see some of those opportunities. All right, major key, and this is really homework for you guys. If you haven't already, put together a morning routine, write it down, see what you're going to do on paper. Start small if you have to. Maybe it's something short. Let's say meditate for 5 minutes, read a book, do some push-ups or some jumping jacks, get the blood flowing. But most importantly, just get started and be consistent with that before you jump into your busy schedule. All right, you will see the results and it will change your life for the better. If you're ready to get started and you're ready to make a change, partner with us on one of our next passive real estate deals. Go to passiveincomeattorney.com and join Epic. All right, kids, enjoy the journey.
Thank you for listening to the Passive Income Attorney Podcast with Seth Bradley. Do you want more ideas on how to generate multiple streams of passive income? Then jump over to passiveincomeattorney.com for show notes and resources. Then apply for the private Facebook community by searching for the Passive Income Attorney on Facebook. And we'll see you on the next episode.